Hello Aries and welcome to my channel Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements looking at your recent past, your current energy, and your immediate future, answering the question, what do you need to know right now in order to move forward in alignment with your higher self? Friendly reminder that these are general readings and they are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate fully for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation and to leave what does not. Last thing is that any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading or coaching session with me is in the description box below. All right, Aries, let's jump on in. We're going to start with looking at the overall energy of this reading through oracle cards first, and then we'll dive deeper into the story with tarot as we progress. So let's look at the overall theme of this reading. What are we going to be talking about today, Aries? Growth, spiritual cleansing, and transmute with the Death card. Something in your, I feel like, recent-ish past, maybe a little bit further back, came to an end. And it feels like it set you on this path of growth, of stepping into almost a new version of yourself. But I feel in doing this, you had to let go of a lot. Maybe a lot of people, a lot of habits and behaviors that weren't serving you, cycles, things of that nature. And I feel like in the energy that you're in, I feel like what this is kind of speaking to is that in-between energy where things aren't necessarily improving or getting better, even though you've put a lot of work in. And I feel like this is about kind of trusting the process and believing that this is taking you to good things. But I feel like there's probably a lot more to this than that. I just feel like this is, because this is just overall theme. I feel like this is just kind of giving us some insight into what's kind of been going on. Because I feel like this has been really big for you and for your path. So let's dive into this a little bit deeper. Let's look at this recent past, Aries. Recent past energy for Aries, please. So you have this communication is key card, but I feel like, hang on, let me see what else we've got here. Recent past for Aries. It's like a truth that's been withheld. Believe in the impossible. What do you need to release? Withhold your vision. It feels like there's this energy of holding back, almost like repressing yourself in some way, like making yourself smaller or like holding back. I don't know if it's like your authenticity, just in general, like your truth. And I feel like doing that was necessary in order to stay in something, to keep something, to have something. But it feels like it was doing a lot of draining you. And even if maybe you tried to speak up and be honest about something, it feels like you were kind of, there's a lot of pushback to that. And I think that that's why something eventually came to an end here, was because you were kind of required to hold yourself to like lower expectations, or like, I don't know, to accept less. I don't know what this is talking about. Okay, let's see what your current energy is here, Aries. I didn't align my table before I started. Current energy for Aries. because it's definitely throat chakra kind of energy. If you're very close to achieving your goal, don't let the past hold you back. Look at the bigger picture, and the end of a tough cycle approaches. So here's what I kind of feel happened. You know, you were making yourself small, you know, trying to make something work by holding yourself back until you couldn't anymore. And then maybe kind of you stepped out of your power, you stepped into your light in a certain way, but it didn't take you anywhere right away. Feeling like maybe you like made a mistake, or not necessarily a mistake, but like starting to doubt yourself in a way, like, should I have just kept quiet? Should I have not said anything? Or like, should I have just like stayed where I was at? And the answer to that is no. I feel like you're kind of facing a lot of the things that kept you in these spaces that required you to be smaller. It's like you're stepping into who you really are, and that is going to eventually attract situations that really align with you. But there's always an in-between phase. There's an in-between phase between no longer accepting less before we receive more. And that in-between phase is where all the growth happens. Because that's when we're required to face those parts of ourselves that held us back in the first place. So I feel like that's why you're needing to look at the bigger picture. You know, don't let your past hold you back. You know, when we step out of spaces that were maybe comfortable but not fulfilling, there's a part of us before things start to shift. There's a part of us that's always going to be drawn back to those spaces, because those spaces provide us with a sense of comfortability, of certainty. And I feel like you're kind of in the midst of the unknown right now. So what is Aries needing to know moving forward? Hold your vision. Luck is on your side and a new start is coming. Pretty straightforward. I feel like, you know, you have this idea of what you want and what you deserve. Maybe out of your life, out of a relationship, out of a job, out of a business, I don't know. And that vision that you have for your life or for a situation is absolutely still possible. It might not happen in the same way that you once expected it to, but it's absolutely still possible. Even if you're not seeing the results that you expected right away. You know, creating the life that we desire requires a ton of patience. Because in the midst of that patience, there's a lot of working through stuff that we do there. We work through fear, we work through self-doubt, we work through insecurity. And that's what alignment is all about, is, you know, it's not allowing ourselves to align with that fear, doubt, and insecurity, but aligning with faith, aligning with choosing to believe that more is possible for us, things of that nature. So I don't know, I feel like you are headed towards some sort of a new beginning, and it very much aligns with this vision, but this period that you're in right now is incredibly important. The growth that you're experiencing, the healing that you're going through, the transmutation, it's the transformation. You are transforming, which will eventually transform your life outside of you, but has to happen within first. So, I don't know, it's like keep the faith, keep having that patience, because I think that it's going to pay off in the end. But let's look at this in a little bit more detail. What has Aries been dealing with in their recent past? Oh gosh. 2 cards come out. The 6 of Cups, King of Pentacles in reverse. The 10 of Wands, the 5 of Wands, the 4 of Cups, and the 4 of Wands in reverse. Okay. So, what's really interesting here is there's a lot of obligation in this energy. It's like I'm obligated to make myself small to stay in these places because that's what's best. Like that's the energy that I'm gathering. And I'm not saying that there isn't probably truth to that, but it's like there was this inner battle that you've been in with yourself for a really long time where it's like that you deserve more, that you're capable of more, that you belong in maybe bigger spaces, more aligned spaces. But then there's the part of you that is wired for survival. And, when we're wired for survival, as human beings are, as our ego is, we are going to choose situations that feel familiar and predictable, even if they're not what we want. And I think that for a while there was a lot of this. Maybe you maybe weren't even aware of this, weren't even aware that you were consciously doing this, that you were accepting less, or that you were making yourself small, or trying to fit into spaces where you didn't really belong. But I feel like you were doing it because you thought you had to. And I feel like for a long time, things were okay, maybe, but I feel like you've had this longing for more, this like call to more abundance, more peace, more love, whatever the case is. And it doesn't mean that, I think that sometimes we can start to feel guilty when it's like, but like, I have money, or I have a job, or I have a relationship, or I have a partner, but like, just because you have something doesn't mean that it's always what's right for you. And it's okay to want more. It's okay to desire more. It's okay to feel calling and a pull to more. So I don't know why, but it feels like something eventually happened here to bring some sort of a situation to an end. Because something was essentially holding you back. In a way, something or someone was holding you back in a way, and it was keeping you from your full potential in some capacity. And I don't necessarily know what that capacity is. But I also feel like, or you were holding yourself back in some way. That could be something too. I don't know. Depending on your situation, how this resonates with you. But sometimes we hold ourselves back, in ways that we don't even realize we are, with self-sabotage, or refusing to heal, or refusing to accept, responsibility, or things of that nature. But I'm not saying it has to be that. I feel like this might be something outside of you, but whatever it is. Because I said, when I was looking at this, what do you need to release card, I said, releasing, it was when I was looking at spiritual cleansing, which I feel like carry very similar energies, but I was saying releasing not just people and situations, but also like habits and cycles and patterns. And, there's so much more to what's being released than the thing outside of us that's being released. But let's see, what does Aries need to know about their current energy? Look at the bigger picture. Don't let your past hold you back. You're in the middle of a journey. And it's important to know that your journey isn't over yet. That you still have the ability to create the things that you desire, even if it feels like it's not happening. Oh, I'm sore. So reaching down to pick that up was rough. Okay. There's a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress in this energy, a lot of, well, what if I fail? Or what if it doesn't work out? Or what if nothing better comes along? Or what if I'm never going to get there? Or all of the natural, normal feelings that one would experience when stepping out of their comfort zone. You're releasing your attachment to what you thought you needed. So there's a need to, and again, look at the bigger picture, and this Judgment card carry very similar energies. Yeah, because then there's the Eight of Swords in reverse, and this is my favorite card in tarot. So you have Three of Cups in reverse, Death, Nine of Swords, Devil in reverse, Judgment, Eight of Swords in reverse, and then this Page of Wands, which I feel like is kind of carrying as underlying energy. But this is my favorite card in tarot because this is about releasing ourselves from the limiting beliefs, from the fear, doubt, insecurity that keeps us trapped in a limited reality. Because the truth of the matter is that you are capable of experiencing the life that you desire, that you deserve. But if you're not living it, then there's a part of you that doesn't believe you can have it. And when we start to face those parts of us, we start to change our approach to our life. And I feel like what's happening is you're ending situations or stepping away from situations that aren't aligned with you, that don't align with where you belong. Because again, if you're making yourself small, or you're self-sacrificing, or you're sacrificing your needs or your desires in order to make something work, it doesn't align with you, because what is aligned with you will never require you to do that. But it's like the liminal space. Is that the right word? Where it's like you're in this in between where, yes, certain situations are ending, but there's no new beginnings in sight. And that's a really scary place to be, because that's where your fear lives. That's where the doubt lives. That's where the insecurity lives, like I was kind of talking about. But I feel like that's why you're working through so much right now, and why this period is so important, because that doubt, that fear, and that insecurity that you're facing is what kept you settling for less and accepting less in the first place. It's what kept you in spaces that didn't align with what you really deserve. So you're freeing yourself. You're freeing yourself from a limited reality and stepping into your potential here. But it's not an easy thing at all. And I think that that's where you're needing to understand the bigger picture of what's happening, because that's going to help you a lot on the journey to understand, like, okay, this is where my fear lives. Like this, it makes sense that I'm feeling this. And it's not to bypass the feeling. You have to have the feeling. You have to have the experience. But you don't have to allow that fear and the experience of the doubt and the insecurity to dictate what you do next. That's why you have don't let your past hold you back, right? Because if you start to go, oh my gosh, I made the wrong decision by choosing myself or setting a boundary or walking away or whatever the case is. Now, this could have been something that ended that was outside of your control too. But I feel like the message still kind of remains the same, that, if you're second guessing whether or not this is the right thing, you're going to maybe fall backwards into old patterns, old behaviors, old cycles. And we all do it, okay? There's absolutely nothing wrong with repeating old cycles. We'll repeat them as many times as we need to until we finally decide to break them. So this isn't if you don't break it now, then you're never going to have the opportunity, again, because that's not how things work. But I do feel like you're understanding, first of all, you're not just ending a situation. You're ending a cycle that expands so much further than that. It's the limiting beliefs and the fear and the insecurity that kept you stuck in the cycle that you're working through. So you guys are going through a lot right now. This is you're going through a major transformative phase, at least the collective that I'm speaking to, and doesn't feel very good right now. But I feel like it's also really exciting for you guys, like where you're headed. Because, yeah, there's a lot of anxiety here about where, what lies in your future. But that makes sense, right? If your ego can't predict, it's going to replace that ability to predict, that ability to control, with fear. So it's going to say, since I don't know how this turns out, since I don't know how this looks, because we tend to experience or stay in familiar hells over unfamiliar heavens. I don't know how this looks. If I don't know what this experience is going to be, then I should probably just hope for the best, or hope for the worst, or expect the worst, excuse me, so I can prepare myself. Like, that's what anxiety is. Anxiety is a need for control, and it's a natural human response to the unknown, to the uncontrollable. But in this unknown space that you're in right now, this is where you are creating better for yourself, because you have this ability to say, and I refuse to go backwards. I refuse to accept less. I refuse to not keep going after the things that I deserve and desire, even if I don't see them yet. So you're in this process of kind of like freeing yourself in a way. And like I said, this is a major transformation for you. It's going to lead to good things. Yeah, there's a 7 of Cups that just popped out. I feel like that's the thing, is you're overwhelmed. There's so many emotions. You don't know where you're headed. And that's part of it. That's the hard thing is, there's the only certainty within uncertainty is uncertainty, which makes it incredibly difficult because we crave certainty as humans. All right, what does Aries need to know moving forward? You have a new start is coming with luck is on your side. I feel like you need to trust your growth and trust your healing. Does Aries need to know moving forward? Hierophant. It's like you're coming out on the other side of this a much wiser, stronger, more capable person. And because of all of this, that's what allows you to step into your power to create better. So this growth period that you're in, it's happening for a reason. It's happening to get you to where you're trying to go. It's kind of like that energy of like when you pray for flowers, don't be surprised when it starts to rain, right? Like when you start asking for more, you're going to enter periods of challenge because that means that things are going to have to change. And what alignment is all about is becoming the person you need to be to have and sustain the things that you desire, which requires challenge. The Ten of Cups, the Fool. This is a very emotionally fulfilling new beginning that you're headed toward. So there's a need to surrender to where you're at, to where you're headed, because where you're headed, you're going to end up where you want to be, even if it doesn't look like what you think you need. I feel like there's so much, which is understandable. I feel like there's a lot of doubt in this energy. And I feel like the main point of this reading was to provide you with a little bit of validation, almost like confirmation. You're on the right path. You're doing the right things, but know that you're, any outside confirmation is never going to get you feeling confident. It might help you for a moment, but I feel like this is about turning within and learning to trust yourself and trust that, like, of course you made the right decision, because choosing yourself is always the right decision. Choosing to believe you're worthy and deserving of more is always the right decision. So I'm excited for you guys. I feel like you're headed to a very fulfilling new beginning. But I also feel like this in-between period, there's a need to embrace it and everything that it holds for you. Because you don't just, it's about the journey, not the destination, right? This space holds a lot of really wonderful things for you, even if it doesn't feel all that wonderful. But it never does. Discomfort is never fun. It never feels good, but it's always worth it when it gets us to where we're trying to go. So I'm going to hop on over to the extended. We're going to look at what you need to do right now to ensure you're moving forward in alignment with your higher self. So we're looking at that tangible advice. Then I've got an advice card to pull from your spiritual team at the very end. Thank you so much, Aries, as always, for your support of my channel. I do obviously hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, I wish you nothing but love and healing and all of the wonderful things that you deserve and desire on your journey moving forward. Bye, Aries.